The Great Depression was one of the most significant economic downturns in modern history, spanning from 1929 to the late 1930s. Its impacts were felt worldwide, altering the global economic and social landscape in profound ways. Understanding its causes, consequences, and recovery efforts provides a critical lens into economic resilience and policymaking. The crisis began in the United States after a prolonged period of economic expansion in the 1920s, often called the Roaring Twenties. This era was characterized by rapid industrial growth, technological advancements, and significant increases in stock market investments. Many Americans believed the prosperity would continue indefinitely, leading to speculative investments fueled by borrowing. This speculative bubble grew unsustainably, with stock prices becoming increasingly detached from their real economic value. The stock market crash of October 1929 marked the beginning of the Great Depression. On Black Tuesday, October 29, 1929, stock prices plummeted, erasing billions of dollars in wealth virtually overnight. While the crash did not cause the depression on its own, it was a critical trigger that exposed underlying economic vulnerabilities. Banks, heavily invested in the market, suffered massive losses. This weakened the financial sector, leading to widespread bank failures and eroding public confidence in the economy. The Depression's effects on employment were catastrophic. By 1933, the unemployment rate in the United States soared to nearly 25%, with over 13 million Americans out of work. Industries like manufacturing and agriculture were hit hardest. Farmers faced additional challenges due to falling crop prices and environmental disasters such as the Dust Bowl, a series of severe droughts that ravaged the Great Plains. This combination of economic and environmental pressures forced many families to abandon their homes in search of work and better living conditions. The collapse of the American economy had a ripple effect across the globe. Countries reliant on U.S. trade and investment, particularly in Europe, also faced severe downturns. Germany, already burdened by reparations from World War I, experienced heightened economic strain, which contributed to political instability and the eventual rise of authoritarian regimes. Similarly, colonial economies in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, dependent on commodity exports, saw their revenues shrink as global demand plummeted. Governments initially struggled to respond to the crisis. In the U.S., President Herbert Hoover's administration adopted a laissez-faire approach, relying on market self-correction and voluntary action by businesses to stabilize the economy. These measures proved inadequate, and public dissatisfaction grew. The election of Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1932 marked a turning point. Roosevelt implemented the New Deal, a series of economic programs aimed at providing relief, recovery, and reform. Measures included the establishment of the Social Security system, public works projects to create jobs, and financial reforms to stabilize the banking system. While these policies did not fully end the Depression, they alleviated some of its harshest effects and laid the groundwork for long-term recovery. The Great Depression also brought about significant social and cultural changes. Families faced immense hardship, often resorting to communal living arrangements or relying on charitable assistance. Traditional gender roles shifted as women entered the workforce in greater numbers to support their households. The arts and literature of the era, influenced by widespread suffering, often reflected themes of resilience and critique of social inequalities. Iconic works like John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath captured the plight of the disenfranchised and brought attention to issues of poverty and injustice. Internationally, the crisis led to changes in economic policy and governance. Many countries abandoned the gold standard to allow for more flexible monetary policies. Governments increased their intervention in economic affairs, setting a precedent for the more regulated markets seen in the post-Depression era. The global economy began to recover gradually in the late 1930s, but it was the onset of World War II that ultimately ended the Depression. The war effort spurred industrial production and job creation on an unprecedented scale, revitalizing economies worldwide. The Great Depression remains a critical case study in economic history, offering lessons on the importance of regulatory oversight, the dangers of speculative bubbles, and the necessity of robust social safety nets. Its legacy continues to shape economic thought and policy, underscoring the interplay between economic stability, governance, and human resilience in the face of adversity.